Colonel laughs at Black Girl's shooting range request, then she surprises everyone by breaking 12. Amara held her breath, the scent of gunpowder swirling around her as she stepped into the local shooting range. The Colonel, a hulking figure with a sun-weathered face lined with laughter lines at the corners of his mouth, erupted with laughter as she requested training. "You here? With the boys?" His booming voice echoed, sending ripples of skepticism through the small crowd. Their sideways glances stung like nettles, whispers darting around her like arrows. Amara's cheeks flushed as she felt the heat of their disapproval. Did they think she couldn't do it? This was her dream. She'd been practicing in her backyard, the wooden fence her only witness as she imagined herself in uniform, fired up for the challenges ahead. But now, every ounce of self-doubt crept in, wrapping around her heart like a vice. She fought the urge to turn around, to retreat to the safety of home, where her family's love shielded her from the harsh realities of her small southern town, drawing strength from the stories her mother told, about resilience against all odds. Amara squared her shoulders and reminded herself of who she was. Determination surged within her, a flame ignited by her father's encouragement, urging her to never back down. Before she could question herself any further, she remembered Mr. Thompson, the elderly sharpshooter whose one good eye still shined with wisdom. If her own community doubted her, maybe he wouldn't. Weeks passed as she trained with Mr. Thompson, the two sharing their stories beneath the old oak tree behind his house. He showed her the mechanics of the gun, the way to steady her breath, and the intricacies of focus. Yet, the whispers from the shooting range haunted her. The Colonel would often assign her to a lesser group, dismissing her potential. "Just practice with them, Amara," he'd say, the slight lingering in his voice cutting deep. Amara practiced in secret, honing her skills, but the pressure began to rise at home. The tension thickened like fog. Her parents worried that her ambition was drawing her away from community values they revered. The lessons of humility and respect weighed against her audacious goals as if success were a luxury she wasn't entitled to. Then came the day of the high-stakes competition. A thrumming pulse in her veins urged her to focus as she faced the target set far ahead. She steeled herself, blocking out the skeptical murmurs of the crowd. Those same whispers sharpened into daggers aimed at her quiet resolve. But even as the crowd watched in scrutiny, Amara felt an exhilarating power coursing through her, affirming her decisions. She could break barriers. She must. Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Her hand tightened around the grip, ready to unleash all the determination she had built to this point. As she fired each shot, she could feel the crowd shift first from cynicism to surprise, and then disbelief. With every penetrating sound, a piece of her old self shattered, doubt became confidence, and the Colonel's laughter morphed into silence. And then, on the final shot, the world seemed to pause. The board lit up with the unmistakable mark that would change everything. It wasn't just a record. It bore the weight of judgment and expectation, an unexpected confrontation of biases that would force the townsfolk and the Colonel into a reckoning. Despite the moment of triumph, Amara was left hanging in uncertainty, the tension between community loyalty and personal ambition choking her breath. The room buzzed, energies crashing against a decision yet to be made, and as she stood staring down the Colonel, she could either challenge the foundation of prejudice laid before her or step back, torn. It hung in the air, thick with unresolved feelings and choices unmade. What path would she take? Would her next move ignite a fire or extinguish her own ambition? Amara's heart raced as the spotlight of the room swelled around her, every face reflecting a spectrum of disbelief and admiration. The Colonel's expression shifted, lines of laughter fading into a mask of grudging respect. Yet, lurking behind his eyes, Amara perceived an undercurrent of defiance, a flicker that warned her of the confrontation ahead. she had expected applause, encouragement, or even an acknowledgement of her hard work. Instead, there was only silence interspersed with the murmurs of doubt that still clung to the air like smoke from the shots she had just fired. For a brief moment, she felt like a ship adrift in a turbulent sea, torn between the currents of acceptance and rejection. "Nice shooting," the colonel finally conceded, albeit begrudgingly. That one statement, simple yet heavy, felt like a gauntlet thrown at her feet, an invitation, perhaps, to step into a reality that would challenge everything she had fought to achieve. The choice loomed before her, filling her with a sense of urgency. Should she bask in this victory or tackle the skepticism that still loomed? Amara's thoughts shifted like the sand beneath her feet. The dreams she had burned with anticipation now confronted the practicality of her situation. What would it mean to embrace this victory against the tide of doubt? Was she ready to face each whisper as a challenge, stripping away layers of judgment and expectation laid upon her by the colonel and the community? "Thank you, sir," she replied, her voice steady despite the storm brewing inside. She heard a few gasps from the onlookers as she took a step forward, but her posture mirrored one of resolve rather than subservience. "But this is just the beginning." Her firm declaration rippled through the crowd, and she noted the change in Maria, a fellow competitor who used to warmly encourage her in practice. A light sparked in her eyes, and Amara wondered if she had managed to plant a seed of courage in her peers, or if she would remain an island, isolated in determination. Every cell in her body vibrated with potential as she ignored the murmurings swirling around her, boiling down to a single question: how can I transform this victory into something more? Delving deep into her mind, she recalled every conversation with Mr. Thompson and every moment spent training in secret. She knew her abilities extended far beyond this one moment, and she would not let it go to waste, but ambition was a double-edged sword. She had witnessed how victories could incite envy and bitterness, especially among those who had always underestimated her. The flash of recognition began to dawn on her. The colonel's laughter, those years of being overlooked, were not simply hurdles, they were a reckoning that would call for her voice. She was lighter than before, yet the weight of responsibility settled heavily on her shoulders. "What would you propose we do now, then?" The colonel challenged, his tone equal parts intrigued and baiting. Amara swallowed hard, her mind racing at the implications. Was he truly opening the door wide enough for her to walk through, or was this just another test? She could feel the eyes of the spectators on her, the mixture of expectations and curiosity winding tighter around her as she braced herself for the next move. "I want to train with everyone, including you, Colonel," she stated, her voice unwavering. "But more than that, I want to challenge the perception of who can be here. It's time for all of us to fire together and prove our worth, regardless of our backgrounds." A flicker of uncertainty swirled across the colonel's face, and Amara sensed the tides might be turning. Could she truly bridge the divide that had long separated her from these men and women? The battlefield stretched out before her, and with it came the chilling exhilaration of possibility. As silence reclaimed the space, she felt that realization settle deep within her. This was her opportunity to ignite a change, to reshape not just her own narrative but the stories of others like her. But as she gathered her courage and prepared to advance her new initiative, a shadow moved through the outskirts of the gathering, a figure she recognized. It was a face from her past that bore memories she wished she could forget entirely. What would this person do now that she dared to step into the light? The moment of truth approached, and Amara understood how it could either fortify her identity or threaten to unravel everything. Would this stranger be an ally or yet another adversary in her quest for recognition? Amara's pulse quickened as the figure emerged from the shadows, a ghost from her past that laced her present confrontation with both fear and determination. Justin had once been a source of inspiration, someone who annihilated every barrier put in front of him. But their paths diverged sharply along the jagged rocks of self-doubt. Now, he stood before her, a mixture of confusion and something akin to resentment etched on his face. Caught in the grip of her memories, she wrestled with her emotions. Would he mock her aspirations? Was this an opportunity for reconciliation or an attempt to undermine her resolve? The crowd around them held its breath, as if waiting for the first shot to be fired amidst an escalating tension. "Amara?" Justin's voice cut through the murmurs like a blade. You. Leading this initiative? Did you really think they'd let someone like you in? She felt the weight of his words, a challenge dressed in familiarity. In that moment, Amara allowed herself to reflect on how she had resisted his influence before. She had fought tirelessly against his doubts, and now, faced with his skepticism, she recognized the same defiance simmering within her. But this time, it was different. She had found her voice. Yes, Justin, she replied, her tone steady, fueled by newfound confidence. I do belong here, and I'm ready to prove it to anyone who doubts me. The Colonel's eyebrows raised slightly, intrigued but cautious, as the audience braced for the unfolding drama. In this moment, Amara felt a swell of internal strength. She wasn't merely confronting her past, she was defining her future. I'd like to see you try to change something that's been ingrained for years, Justin pressed, his tone challenging. You think you can make a difference? What do you know about working with others like us? A heartbeat later, Amara responded, refusing to waver. I know that if we don't challenge the status quo, nothing will change. I've practiced under the radar for too long, and I've learned from the best. If we, together, step up and improve as a unit, there's no telling what we can achieve. The murmurs in the crowd intensified, disbelief mingled with curiosity. She caught Maria's gaze, an ally she hadn't fully realized she had. A flicker of determination lit up in Maria's eyes. Could everyone be ready to pivot alongside her? The colonel interrupted the simmering tension, his voice a mix of formality and intrigue. You speak of change, Amara. But it's one thing to envision a united front and quite another to forge it. What concrete steps do you suggest? Amara gathered her thoughts, understanding the gravity of the moment. She had two paths laid before her. She could continue along the risk-laden road of shattered expectations, or she could forge a new path that was as uncertain as it was promising. What if we hold joint trainings? Share techniques? We've got miles to go until we can call ourselves a real team. Everyone should have the opportunity to learn and grow, myself included, she proposed, her voice unwavering. Justin crossed his arms, skepticism still evident. A nice idea in theory. But practice doesn't break down barriers as easily as you might think. Then let's test it, Amara shot back, heart pounding. I'm not looking for shortcuts or favors. I want us to work together as equals, as capable individuals who can help bring out the best in one another. Silence enveloped the room once more, this time edged with anticipation. The tension hung in the air like the scent of rain before a storm, electrifying and unpredictable. Each person present could feel the friction between hope and doubt swelling, shifting subtly, but it was the colonel who finally broke through. Then I will allow this training to commence. Consider it a challenge. Prove your ideas hold merit before we reconvene. Amara locked eyes with Justin. Would he back down now? Would he throw himself into the fray alongside her, as they once did together? Yet, the looming question remained, could she convince her peers, especially Justin, to see the potential in collaboration rather than competition? As their eyes met, Amara realized the real battle was only just beginning. However, as they stood at this newfound crossroads, a flicker of determination ignited within her. The outcome might depend less on strength and more on unity. The moment of truth had arrived, yet her journey had only just begun. With resolve blooming inside her, Amara stood ready, cradling the weight of both vulnerability and ambition. What pivotal choices lay ahead? Would the next step illuminate her path, or would it cast shadows over the fragile ambitions she sought to protect? Amara felt the weight of the colonel's challenge hanging in the air, a palpable tension that electrified her surroundings. This was not just an opportunity, it was the critical moment that could shape her future. As the murmurs of disbelief settled, she noted the mixed expressions of those around her. Skepticism blended with curiosity. She needed to turn this uncertainty into fuel for a transformative experience. Her mind raced while she stood among her peers, considering the gravity of the training she proposed. She recognized it wasn't just about aiming to improve their skills, it was about dismantling the barriers Justin had pointed out, the very walls she had been striving to tear down. The reality was stark: if she wanted the training to be successful, she needed to secure not just the colonel's approval, but also the trust of her peers. Strategizing silently, she thought about the symbolic significance of an initial gathering, a space free of past judgments. She envisioned sessions where members could express their insights and fears, allowing them to learn from each other without the restraining weight of competition. No leader, just a group, coming together to push beyond their individual doubts. "Okay," Amara declared, her mind settling into focus. "Let us start small. We can meet for a weekend at the range. I'll organize the first session. We'll set individual goals, and appreciate everyone's skills and experiences before delving deeper. Consider it the first step towards collaboration." The colonel nodded thoughtfully. "If you can pull this off, it may prove to be insightful. However, everyone needs to be on board. The key is to start with something everyone enjoys: targets, challenges, maybe even a bit of friendly competition to ease tensions," she continued, her ideas flowing with an unexpected clarity. "I want to identify strengths and discover weaknesses as a team. Only then will we cultivate trust." At this juncture, Amara felt the shadows of doubt creeping back. Would Justin dismiss her efforts as overreaching? Yet, as she turned to him, she found not contempt but a flicker of intrigue in his eyes. Perhaps he was beginning to understand that this wasn't just about her, it was about them. "What if I shot a perfect score on the first goal?" Amara challenged. "Expectations must be set high, and we'll need to hold each other accountable." Justin's defenses softened for just a moment. "That's a bold statement," he replied, a hint of respect in his tone. "But if you can back it up, I'll join you. Just know that I'm not going to make this easy." "Perfect," Amara said, grateful for the challenge. "I wouldn't want it any other way. Let us make it a true test of our capabilities." The air held a different quality now, charged with possibility. Amara sensed a shift, an evolution not only in her own mindset, but in how her peers began to perceive her leadership. She was initiating a dramatic shift from individual competition to shared ambition, her resolve crystallizing within her. As they began to disperse, she felt a familiar flutter of anxiety competing with anticipation within her chest. Each step towards the training site symbolized a commitment to her objectives, not only for herself, but for all of them. This was a turning point. She was no longer merely an observer in her own life. That night, surrounded by her notes and planning outlines, she couldn't shake the thought of what lay ahead. The training could either reinforce her belief in collaboration or unravel it entirely. As exhaustion tugged at her eyelids, her thoughts spiraled into what this weekend could reveal about her and her colleagues, especially Justin. Perhaps her resolve would ignite a passion for unity among them, but one thing was certain: she was prepared to face whatever obstacles arose. The prospect of facing Justin head-on only fueled her spirit. Little did she know, the range would serve not only as a place for skills to be honed, but as a crucible for deeper revelations about herself and the evolving dynamics of resilience, ambition, and teamwork. And as she lay down to sleep, a single thought echoed through her mind: what hidden talents would she uncover, and would their legacy redefine not only their success but their individual journeys moving forward? The dawn crept in quietly, painting the horizon in hues of orange and pink as Amara stood at the edge of the shooting range. She inhaled deeply, absorbing the crisp morning air infused with Earth's raw potential. Today was the day she would either solidify her transformation or expose the weaknesses she feared still lurked beneath the surface. As she surveyed the rows of targets lined like soldiers waiting for orders, Amara felt a twinge of fear clawing at her resolve. Could she truly inspire trust among her peers? More importantly, would she lead them effectively? The weight of responsibility pressed down, but she welcomed the challenge, knowing that the stakes were inevitably tied to her growth. The others began to arrive, each stepping through the gate with expressions ranging from excitement to skepticism. Amara spotted Justin first, his posture poised and alert, like a coil waiting to be released. He met her gaze, and for a heartbeat, the world around them faded. Ready to prove those perfect scores? he asked, a smirk playing at the corners of his lips. More than ready, she replied, the confidence in her voice surprising even her. As the group gathered, Amara sensed an urgency within. She had hoped for a space where everyone could feel valued, free from past associations. Launching into the first exercise, she shifted the atmosphere from tension to collaboration with innovative drills focused on teamwork rather than individual prowess. Each participant paired off, and Amara facilitated their interactions, encouraging them to share their strengths and vulnerabilities. She watched as Justin sparred with another peer, every shot expertly calculated, a manifestation of the unspoken rivalry in his eyes. Then, to her amusement, she noticed several members taking turns to offer tips and praise, empathy spreading like wildfire. However, as the session progressed, a growing unease prickled Amara's skin. Despite her efforts, doubts started to creep back in. Were they truly absorbing the lessons, or merely going through the motions? She knew this venturing into the unknown required courage, but she fretted about failing in the eyes of the team. Amara, how about a little competition? Justin proposed after a successful round, his competitiveness shining through. Let us see who can hit the most targets in 10 shots. Amara understood this challenge could tilt the course of the day. You're on, she affirmed, a flicker of thrill erupting within her. They positioned themselves beside each other, the air crackling with anticipation as their peers circled like spectators in an arena. With each shot, doubts battled alongside determination in her mind. The first few shots were calculated and precise, the next few, a testament to her restless spirit, began to dip into the realm of slips. Justin's eyes narrowed as he scrutinized her. This was not just a friendly challenge for him, it was a display of dominance. The final shot awaited, the world around her a blur. Amara reassured herself, remembering the unity they had fostered earlier. She steadied her breath, embracing the exhilaration coursing through her veins. As she squeezed the trigger, her personal struggle culminated into a moment of clarity. The bullet found its mark, hitting the bullseye. Cheers erupted around her. Relieved laughter broke out, but the real victory was different. The moment unshackled something deeper within her, revealing a hidden strength she had only glimpsed before, a determination to overcome self-doubt through unity. Great shot! One of her peers shouted, their excitement infectious. As the session continued, Amara noticed a shift in the group dynamic. Camaraderie outweighed individual ambition. They were now allies, building trust not just among themselves, but ultimately towards Amara as a leader. Yet, insecurities lingered within. She could still sense that some weren't fully engaged. A specter of anxiety tightened in her chest. Was this fleeting success enough to cultivate lasting change? What would happen when the real tests came? A sense of urgency pushed her. To plan the next steps, she needed these transformations to solidify, to take root beyond the range. Before she could lose momentum, Amara turned towards her peers, a determined edge to her voice. Next time, we delve deeper. I want each of you to bring not just your skills, but your stories. Let us make this about all of us. The receptive energy around her affirmed that they were ready for the next challenge. As she felt the tide of hope surging within, one daunting thought loomed. With every rise, there came the risk of hard falls. In that moment, as laughter and encouragement echoed through the range, Amara couldn't help but wonder, what awaited her when the stakes increased, and would she have the strength to lead when the path ahead grew murky? Amara left the shooting range feeling a mixture of exhilaration and apprehension. The cheers still echoed in her ears, yet the weight of responsibility clung to her like a heavy cloak. On the ride home, she replayed the day's events in her mind, dissecting every moment, the camaraderie she nurtured, the thrill of competition, and the burning questions that lingered just beyond her grasp. She pulled into the driveway and cut the engine, staring at her reflection in the rearview mirror. Was she truly ready for the challenges that lay ahead? Her initial success felt like a fragile mirage, shimmering but ready to dissipate. The uncertainty of her ability to lead, to carve out trust within the team, haunted her thoughts as she stepped into her home. Restlessness settled in as she paced the small living room, the walls seeming to close in around her. She needed a plan, something to solidify this budding unity and propel her team forward. Inspiration struck as she recalled the powerful stories shared among the group. Amara grabbed a notebook from the coffee table and began to jot down ideas, igniting her determination through a fusion of hope and anxiety. Each thought cascaded into the next, prompting a vision for their next meeting. What if, instead of just focusing on their technical skills, they harnessed the power of vulnerability? It could be transformative. Sharing personal stories, experiences that shaped their journeys, could foster an even deeper bond. Yet, would everyone be willing to open up? Amara took a deep breath, her hand hovering over a blank page. What if one person's story could mirror another's hidden struggles? And what if the act of sharing and listening sparked a deeper courage within herself? It dawned on her that the very act could embolden her leadership. If she embraced her own vulnerabilities, she could lead others to find strength in theirs. The following day, a fresh wave of energy propelled her to the team's informal gathering spot, a diner adorned with vintage memorabilia. Amara wore a bold black dress, an embodiment of both confidence and approachability. As she entered, the hum of conversation ceased, and suddenly all eyes turned to her. "Hey everyone. I hope you're ready for some real talk today," she began, her heart racing but her voice steady. "Today isn't about scores or perfect shots. It's about our stories, what makes each of us who we are." Uncertain murmurs rippled through the group, and Justin raised an eyebrow, skepticism painting his features. "What do you mean? Are we supposed to just share our life stories?" "Exactly," Amara replied, her smile unwavering. "We often show each other our best skills, but I think it's time we reveal what made us who we are. Vulnerability can be our greatest weapon. It can bring us closer, just like it has on the range." The reaction was mixed. Some nodded in agreement while others exchanged doubtful glances. But Amara pressed on, her conviction growing. "I want each of you to feel as valued off the range as you do on it. Who's willing to start?" An uncomfortable silence settled, like thick fog. Yet it was Sarah, a quiet girl with a knack for precision shooting, who broke the stillness. She shared a painful story about her family's struggles, eyes shimmering with unshed tears. Amara leaned in, offering support, and soon the floodgates opened. They shared laughter and grief alike, uncovering layers of resilience intertwined with their identities. Each narrative transformed the atmosphere, breaking down the walls of uncertainty. As stories poured out, Amara found herself engrossed, feeling their raw truths stir something deep within her, but beneath the surface of connection, unsettling thoughts marinated. She started picking up on underlying tensions, remarks veiling deeper emotions, long-held doubts and fears that some had long hidden away. Would they feel safe to share with one another? And what if her leadership left a visible mark on their willingness to trust? The room buzzed with newfound camaraderie, but as the stories unfolded, Amara's internal doubts loomed like dark clouds. She wanted to deepen their engagement further, to ensure transformation was more than a fleeting moment. "Next week," she announced, "we're going to take these stories and tie them to our training. We'll analyze how our pasts inform our present skills. Each of you will leave with a new perspective." A spirit of determination surged within her, but thoughts of imposter syndrome clawed back. Would this strategy create a safe space, or would her ambitions open wounds that could irrevocably fracture the group's trust? As the evening wound down, Amara felt an uneasy thrill ripple through her. This was just the beginning. Leadership was a labyrinth, one where each turn could lead to revelation or collapse. In the aftermath, she stood at the diner door, greeted by the last beams of twilight. She sensed eyes on her. Trust was fragile, built on the fragments of shared stories and vulnerability. Yet her heart drummed with urgency. Would she dare venture deeper into this transformative process? The next step felt monumental, a climb that could either elevate her leadership or send her tumbling into doubt. As she took a deep breath, a single truth echoed through her mind: sometimes, to lead, one must leap into the unknown. How far was she willing to plunge in pursuit of unity and trust, and what would emerge from that leap? Amara spent the rest of the week wrestling with her thoughts, each day feeling like a tightening noose around her ambitions. The diner meeting replayed in her mind, moments from that night clashing with her nagging fears. As she prepared for the next gathering, her heart raced with uncertainty. Could she truly harness the power of these stories to elevate her team's performance? Determined to make her vision a reality, Amara devised a structured approach. She scrutinized her notes and sifted through the stories shared last week, keen to identify themes that resonated deeply with her team. What lessons could be drawn from their vulnerabilities? How could these disclosures enhance their skills at the shooting range? To bolster her own confidence, she sought inspiration from renowned leaders who had openly embraced vulnerability. She immersed herself in their stories, allowing their experiences to seep into her psyche. But instead of dispelling her doubts, their narratives ignited an intense yearning within her, to lead not just with strength but authenticity. On the night before the gathering, she lay awake, questions swirling like a storm. Would her team accept her? Would they follow her if she revealed her own fears and insecurities? She thought of her childhood, of the moments riddled with self-doubt and the strength it took to overcome them. These memories lingered, reminding her of the resilience needed to rise above fear. The next gathering arrived, set in the glow of fresh hope. This time, Amara stood before her team with a different demeanor, a blend of vulnerability and strength. She shared her own story, the contours of her childhood, her fears of inadequacy, and her steadfast wish to lead with purpose. The room absorbed her honesty, eyes widening, breaths held as she laid bare her truths. Each word seemed to dissolve the boundaries between her and her teammates. She sensed the flicker of connection as one by one, her team members opened up about their struggles. They delved into anxieties, frustrations, and moments that made them question their abilities. In listening to their authentic selves, a shared resilience began to form, revealing layers of strength embedded in their narratives. As the discussion gained momentum, Amara made a pivotal decision. She challenged her team to connect their stories to their shooting practice in a tangible way. Instead of merely analyzing targets and scores, they would explore how personal histories shaped the way they approached their skills. Yet, within this spirited engagement, a flicker of doubt gnawed at her. Would they truly connect their pasts to their present? What if some hesitated, clinging to their fears? The stakes felt monumental, as if her leadership hinged on the ability to navigate this crossroad successfully. To mitigate these concerns, Amara facilitated smaller breakout sessions during the practice. She paired team members, insisting they share not only their shooting techniques but also the emotions that underpinned their approach. Each whisper of insight was laced with camaraderie, and Amara found herself surprised at the grace emerging in the dialogue. As the weeks unfolded, Amara observed neurotic tension diminish within the group. Confidence bloomed with each session, and while external scores improved, it was the intangible connections, the reliance on one another, that startled her. Each member grew bolder, their vulnerabilities transforming into pillars of unwavering support on which they stood together. Yet, with each boost of morale, doubt simmered beneath the surface. Had she done enough? Was this newfound bond substantial enough to weather the inevitable storms ahead? The specter of failure loomed, whispering that, despite their progress, a single misstep could unravel everything. In those vulnerable moments of reflection, Amara felt the weight of leadership settle heavily on her shoulders, a duality of privilege and burden. She was walking a tightrope, and though she believed in her team, the fragility of trust was palpable. As practice ended one evening, Amara called everyone into a huddle, bracing herself to challenge them further. "Imagine if we took this journey even deeper," she proposed, her heart racing at the potential. "What if we brought someone external, perhaps a mentor or coach, into the fold, someone who could push us beyond our limits? Would you be willing to take that step?" Little did she know, this suggestion could either solidify their growth or complicate their fragile foundations of trust. The murmurs around the room simmered with excitement and trepidation, leaving Amara hanging on the precipice of their response. Would her vision resonate, or would it stir doubts that could fracture the connections cultivated so carefully? As the silence hung thick, anticipation crackled in the air, a potent blend of fear and hope. What lay ahead for Amara and her team? An ascent into newfound heights or a plunge into chaos? The coming moments would reveal a deeper truth about her leadership and the bonds they had forged. As the uncertain murmurs faded into a hesitant silence, Amara's pulse quickened. She was acutely aware of the window of opportunity before her, the choices made in this instant could either forge a stronger alliance or shatter the trust they had painstakingly built. Moments spiraled into a daunting eternity, leaving her vulnerable yet resolute. "Let us not jump to conclusions," she finally said, channeling both her nerves and her determination into clarity. "Taking this step forward, a mentor could introduce us to new perspectives. It's a chance to challenge what we've learned and push us beyond what we believe we're capable of." Gradually, she noticed subtle shifts in her team's expressions. Skepticism transformed into contemplation, brows furrowing as they weighed the potential risks against the prospect of advancement. "Isn't that the point?" Jalen broke the silence, his voice steady yet tinged with caution. "Are we ready to open ourselves up to someone who may not understand our journey?" Amara nodded, sensing the gravity of his inquiry. "Yes, there is a risk. But isn't the ability to confront uncertainty the hallmark of growth? We've already begun engaging with our vulnerabilities. This could be a natural extension of that process." As Amara spoke, she consciously drew on the stories they had shared. She felt the weight of her own words, a blend of courage and authenticity that had transformed their practice sessions into a sanctuary. If she expected her team to embrace the unknown with her, she had to embody that spirit. Slowly, others chimed in. "I think the right coach could help me break through some of my barriers," Natasha admitted, her eyes brightening with the possibility. "It's easy to doubt myself when I'm alone, but maybe having someone else could give me the push I need." An unanticipated current of enthusiasm began to surge among them, and Amara seized it. "Consider this, learning from a different viewpoint could solidify the foundation we've built. Our trust could become an anchor, enabling us to explore these new techniques without fear of judgment." The huddle sparked chatter, excited voices mingling with apprehensive ones. There was still a sense of trepidation, yet something palpable began to take root. Ideas of who they could ask for mentorship floated among them, intertwining with the histories they had previously explored. In that moment, Amara recognized a remarkable shift. The vulnerability they had started with now felt like a shared strength, collecting momentum. However, an inkling of unease lingered in her mind. Introducing an outsider could awaken vulnerability in ways they had yet to confront, reigniting that lingering fear of exposure. As practice resumed, the question remained, would the introduction of a mentor sharpen their focus, or would it churn up insecurity within the tightly knit fabric of their burgeoning community? In the days that followed, Amara took it upon herself to research leaders who had successfully harnessed mentorship within diverse teams. Each story both inspired and frightened her, confirming her belief in the potential for growth while foreshadowing the risks involved. She approached individuals who could offer insight into impactful mentorship. Coffee chats morphed into strategic conversations, as she sought out perspectives on what qualities made a mentor effective. Behind each recommendation lay a sliver of relief. She found comfort in understanding that the right match could make the difference between soaring success and chaotic friction. Yet, as she scheduled potentials to meet with her and her team, Amara grappled with her own fears. Would they gel with an outsider? Would the trust they had cultivated survive the scrutiny of an external perspective? One late afternoon, standing before a mirror, Amara challenged herself to excavate the roots of her doubts. She whispered affirmations, grappling with insecurities about her leadership choices. The lingering element of questioning, was she truly prepared to share her team with someone new? Stung deep, the moment of truth loomed ahead. The mentor was set to arrive in 2 days. Would her team be able to embrace this next evolution of their journey, or would the intrusion of a new persona destabilize everything they had begun to build? The air was thick with the weight of her aspirations and fears, leaving just one pressing thought: was this truly the necessary leap they all needed to embrace their fullest potential? The outcome remained elusive, awaiting the arrival of the mentor, and the challenge ahead would reveal far more than Amara had anticipated. She stood on the precipice of this pivotal moment, unsure if it would lead to triumph or turmoil. The sun hung low in the sky as Amara prepared her team for the mentor's arrival. Anticipation crackled in the air, charged with a mix of excitement and fear that mirrored her own inner turmoil. She had spent hours mapping out their next steps, but she often found her mind drifting to the what-ifs that gnawed at her. In the days leading up to the meeting, Amara had practiced her speech countless times, refining the words that would guide her team through this unfamiliar chapter. Each rehearsal left her feeling slightly more confident, yet the undercurrent of doubt persisted. She questioned not only the compatibility of the mentor with her team but also her capability to lead them through this transformation. Seated across from her team in their usual space, she looked into the eager faces surrounding her. Reality seemed to swell inside her, painting their expressions with varying shades of hope and trepidation. She inhaled deeply and began, "As we prepare for our meeting with the mentor, I want each of us to take a moment to reflect on what we hope to gain from this experience. It's not just about learning a new skill, it's about opening ourselves up to different perspectives on our journey together." There was a moment of silence, and she could almost feel the weight of the words she had just spoken. When Jalen raised his hand tentatively, Amara felt her heart race. "I'm hoping to find out if the doubts I've been carrying can be overcome," he admitted, vulnerability etched across his face. The admission struck a chord within the group, prompting others to voice their hopes and fears as well. Amara absorbed their honesty and realized how intertwined their struggles were. This was not just a matter of professional development, it pushed deeper into the essence of who they were as individuals. As Natasha shared her aspirations, her voice firm yet small, Amara felt a sense of solidarity unfolding inside her. Each voice contributed a thread in the tapestry they were weaving, stitching together collective courage and resolve. She encouraged them to lean into their vulnerability, seeing it as an anchor rather than an impediment. "Let us commit to supporting each other throughout this process," Amara declared, her voice gaining strength. "Mentorship is not a replacement for what we've built, it's an extension of it. We'll face whatever emerges as a unified force." After the meeting, Amara spent the evening reflecting on her team's responses. Their willingness to confront their fears, their willingness to grow signaled a monumental shift. Yet, the uncertainty surrounding the mentor's arrival loomed over her like a dark cloud. She couldn't shake the anxiety that whispered about potential disruptions, and she sensed that hesitation was creeping back into their dynamic. That evening, she found herself reaching for a pen and notebook, working late into the night to prepare a list of learning objectives for the mentor. What skills did they want to build? What challenges did they want to address? As she scribbled, ideas began pouring forth, but the undercurrent of anxiety persisted. Would these objectives resonate with the mentor? Would they open the door to deeper transformations? Late at night, with her notebook sprawled across the kitchen table, a sudden thought struck her. It wasn't just about the mentor shaping them, it was about how they could shape their experience with the mentor. The revelation ignited a spark within her, pushing her to believe they could proactively steer their journey. As Amara closed her notebook, a sense of determination began to glimmer in her chest, growing stronger than the remnants of doubt. Perhaps the true essence of this moment wasn't solely about finding guidance but about reclaiming their narrative as they journeyed into uncharted territory. Yet, as the night wore on, a more disturbing realization settled in. Challenges could arise not only from the mentor's arrival but also from her own ability to lead her team through conflict. Discoveries were imminent, but would they act as catalysts for growth or tribulations that strained their collective resolve? In the quietest moments before sleep, new question loomed large in her mind. Would she have the courage to recognize and confront the discomfort that would surely come, or would she allow it to fracture the bond they had cultivated? With the meeting drawing near, uncertainty lingered, daring her to confront both the strengths and vulnerabilities within herself as a leader. The true test awaited them all, and as she drifted into sleep, the haunting thought wrapped itself around her mind: could she rise to meet the inevitable challenges ahead, or would fear keep her from embracing this pivotal opportunity? Amara stood at the threshold of her journey's next chapter, the weight of the mentor's arrival looming like a storm cloud over her heart. The sun dipped below the horizon, hues of purple and orange streaking across the sky, casting a warm glow over the shooting range as she gathered her team for their first session. They stood together, hearts beating in unison, both anticipation and trepidation radiating from their faces. She felt more than just the eyes of her peers on her, she sensed the collective hope that filled the air, punctuated by whispered affirmations. As she cleared her throat, Amara acknowledged the moment. "Today is not just about what we learn, it's about how we evolve together," she began, the certainty in her voice surprising even herself. Let us embrace this transformation not just with our mentor, but also with each other. With each passing minute, the atmosphere surged with nervous excitement, replete with the possibility of new insights and the promise of growth. When the mentor arrived, a seasoned expert with a reputation for reshaping teams, Amara felt a wave of unease wash over her. However, she quickly locked her gaze forward, determined to embody the values she had championed all along. As introductions were made, she caught Justin's eye, and though his signature skepticism lingered, there was an unmistakable shift and undercurrent of respect and anticipation. "Today, we'll focus on integration," the mentor announced, scanning the group with an intensity that both energized and intimidated them. "Your stories have laid the foundation, now it's time to align your individual skills as a unified platform. We'll explore how vulnerability can become your strength, taking risks to stretch beyond perceived limits." Amara's stomach twisted in knots, the pressure of her ambition to lead weighing heavily in the opening moments. As the mentor guided her team through exercises designed to unveil self-doubt, Amara began sharing her own story, her authentic journey bathed in honesty and vulnerability. She emphasized how hard she had fought against skepticism, both from others and within herself. The moment felt transformative, her openness laying bare the raw essence of her leadership and inviting others to follow suit. As her teammates began to share their experiences, the room filled with a blend of relief and empowerment. Walls of skepticism crumbled, replaced by a palpable sense of solidarity. It was clear that each narrative resonated, woven together, they began to form a tapestry of mutual understanding. Even Justin, initially reluctant, spoke up, unveiling layers of doubt that were suffocating his confidence. To Amara's surprise, his vulnerability shattered misconceptions, prompting others to rally and support him. With each revelation, Amara observed the group evolve. Trust blossomed among them, catalyzing a transformation that felt electric. In the midst of moments of laughter and tears, the mentor nudged them toward the next step, an exercise involving pair shooting and reflection, a tangible manifestation of their newly forged connections. With every shot fired, tensions melted away, replaced by the thrill of shared victory and growth. As the day unfolded, Amara's heart swelled with pride, proof of her vision materializing before her eyes. Underneath the mentorship framework, she felt herself step into a preordained role. It became evident that she was no longer fighting against self-doubt, she was conquering it, transcending her initial challenges, redefining not only her identity but also the philosophy she wanted to instill in her team. When the mentor departed, their session concluded, Amara gathered her peers and addressed them. "What we've cultivated today is merely the beginning, a springboard for our future endeavors. We've transcended individualism, together, we have chosen to move forward." The courage emitted from her allies surrounded her like an embrace, emboldening her voice with each heartfelt response. The weeks following the mentor's arrival turned into a continuous cycle of exploration and challenges. Each session propelling them further toward a level of competency that she had once thought unreachable. Amara leaned into her role as a leader, recognizing each member's significant contributions, fostering a culture of accountability, and igniting a passion that transcended their initial ambitions. The culmination of their efforts arrived: a local competition where her team would showcase their progress. The poised demeanor of her peers reflected their growth, evident confidence radiating from every participant. As they lined up to take their shots, Amara marveled at the turn from doubt and secrecy to openness and unity, feeling a sense of validation within her choices. Amara's heart swelled as she fired her own shots, no hesitation, no fear. The targets fell effortlessly. Cheering erupted as her teammates achieved their best results. Gone was the laughter of the colonel, now, the applause felt like a chorus of triumph, echoing validation for all of them. At that moment, Amara realized she had not only embraced her ambitions but had also facilitated the emergence of a new standard. An exhilarating transformation braided through her team's self-doubt banished, replaced by collective strength and determination, solidifying her position as a leader, not just in the context of marksmanship, but in spearheading change within her community. Stepping forward, Amara knew she had changed, not in spite of the doubt but because of it. Emerging from the shadows of her past, she now strode confidently into the light, her success framed by tangible achievements that would forever validate her journey. This was not just a personal victory, it was a shared evolution, illuminated by courage, trust, and strength. In that moment of clarity, Amara beamed. Today, she had firmly established her identity, proving that resilience can reform not just the individual but an entire community. The pathway she forged lay open before her, inviting further successes and even greater ambitions. Now was their time to blossom. Don't wait another second. You need to subscribe now to this channel for more exclusive emotional stories, ensuring you don't miss the next incredible journey of personal transformation. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and show us your support. Comment below your reactions and theories about Amara's inspiring journey, and share this touching tale instantly with at least 5 friends who need to witness this conclusion for themselves.